Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Twin Cities Startup Week kickoff event for our amazing event hosts and session organizers. The year is 2020, and we are going to go over all the changes and adaptations that are happening this year. So thank you for being here. For those of you who can't attend live, this is obviously recorded, so hopefully this is helpful to you. Let's jump into who's on the call today. So who's running this thing? Kelly Buell, who is our operations lead. She's not on the call, but she is probably the most common person you're hearing from right now. Lots of emails, lots of instructions. She's amazing. When you have questions that aren't covered in this webinar, or you need to escalate something, she's a great person to reach out to. My name's Casey Schultz. I'm the executive director of Beta and Twin Cities Startup Week. We're the organization, the nonprofit that puts on Twin Cities Startup Week every year. And we have Grace Northamer, who is our amazing operations intern from St. Thomas. You probably have heard a lot from her as well. Grace is our expert in HopIn, Amamo, like all things virtual. So she is also a great resource, and you'll be hearing from her throughout this call as well. So today we're going to cover quick, like a welcome to Startup Week. What is Startup Week for those of you who maybe this is your first year? We're going to go over key dates and deadlines, all the changes to the week, which there are quite a few, considering that we've had to drastically adapt to a more virtual environment. Grace is going to give you a detailed demo on registration and Amamo, so hopefully you'll also be an expert on Amamo, our scheduling app, by the time we leave this webinar. We'll talk about tips and tricks to promoting your event and getting people to attend your sessions, go over any resources that we have available to you, and then at the end we have time for Q&A. So feel free, like if we're going over something in the moment and you have a question about a specific slide, I encourage you to unmute yourself and jump in with a question, or make a note, and at the end of the webinar we will take all the questions at that time as well. So 2 ways to ask questions. And yeah, next slide. Okay, great. Well, congratulations, you're part of Startup Week. I don't know if all of you know this, but Twin Cities Startup Week is actually the second largest startup week in the United States, which is quite amazing considering that we've only been doing it since I think like 2013 or 2014. The first startup week was 50 people and 15 events. So the amount that it's grown since then is quite impressive. In 2019, we had over 19,000 registered attendees for the whole week. And so Startup Week registrants itself was over 15,000. And then once you started looking at all the events like Minnesota Cup and Beta Showcase and Mini Demo, that actually got us closer to 20,000 registered attendees. So it's quite a popular Startup Week. We have been making great strides in our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. So, you know, our gender parity is getting closer every year. Last year, we took a bigger step around diversity, equity, and inclusion and required panels and speakers to diversify the voices that they were inviting on stage. So that was extremely successful. We had 66% of panels featuring female thought leaders. We had 49% of panels featuring people of color who are thought leaders. So we are continuing that trend and that commitment and making the same requirement this year. So as most of you know, any panels with 3 or more speakers are required to be inviting people from other communities that maybe you haven't worked with before, or and just making sure that we're having voices that represent the diversity of the Twin Cities. Somebody just asked, which is the largest startup week? I believe it's Denver Startup Week. They had, I think last year they had 21,000 attendees. So a little bit larger than ours. Great, let's move on, Grace. Do you want to talk about all the dates?
Yeah, awesome. So my name is Grace, like Casey said, and some of the important dates that are going to be going on over Twin Cities Startup Week, we have pushed it to span an entire month of September. So we have track dates opening on September 8th with the opening party on the 7th. And then every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the month, we'll have a different track with some different signature events sprinkled in throughout. And then on 25th, we'll have our closing party. Like Casey said, there are some changes this year with Twin Cities Startup Week. We have moved virtual first, so everyone will be able to attend the events in a safe manner. Twin Cities Startup Week is spread out over the 3 weeks with track days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And like Casey said earlier, we've continued to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then this year we'll be using Amamo to schedule our events. And you'll see later, but this is an awesome scheduling tool as well as a really great promotional tool to make sure your event is getting out there. Awesome. I'm going to go into a little bit more of what the ticketing process is going to look like. It's a simple 3-step process. So your first step is going to be to register for a ticket on Eventbrite. And if you're a speaker, which I presume you are, if you're on this call, then you should make sure you're registered for the right Eventbrite ticket so you have all the access you need to monitor your event and make sure you can have the permissions required to run that session. From there, you're going to create an account on Amamo and build out your perfect Twin Cities Startup Week schedule. So Amamo is going to show you all of the events that are registered so far for Twin Cities Startup Week, and you'll be able to pick and choose what works well with your schedule and add it to create your own curated look. Additionally, you should make sure that your account is built on Amamo if you're a speaker, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. And then your last step will be to accept your registration via HopIn and build out your HopIn profile. HopIn is the virtual events platform that we're going to be using to host Twin Cities Startup Week. And by building your event on or your profile on HopIn, you'll be able to better provide information about yourself, have a better attendee experience as well as a speaker experience. And if you choose to use the networking feature, you'll be able to share that information with other attendees you meet with throughout the event.
Hey guys, just a quick question. Are you going to share the presentation afterwards just to know whether or not I need to take notes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
There will be a recording and a presentation shared.
Okay.
Perfect. I was clicking forward in the slides here, so we got ahead of ourselves. But updating your events in Amamo and on the Twin Cities Startup Week page, there are 2 ways to do this. You can update both your speaker information and your event information. So to update your speaker information, you can resubmit your speaker form. So everyone should have already submitted your speaker form, and if you haven't yet, I would do so right away so it's available on Amamo so attendees can have a better idea of who's speaking in a panel or hosting, etc. So you can resubmit that speaker form and it'll update the information that you've already submitted. And then once you register on Eventbrite in Amamo, your accounts will be synced and you'll also be able to manually edit your speaker bio, your headshot, any social media links or anything else you want to add to your speaker profile. And
Grace,
then, yes.
this is Lois, and I have a quick question. You just said if you've already submitted your speaker form, you can resubmit it to get it updated in Amamo.
Yes.
Do you have to resubmit it, or if you submitted it, is it automatically going to go into Amamo?
Yes. I think I understand your question, but correct me if I'm not reaching or answering it correctly. So any information you've already submitted to a speaker, the speaker form has been updated into Amamo, and then that is correct. If you want to make changes to any of that information you've already submitted, that's when you would resubmit the form.
Okay. That's what I thought you meant. It just didn't come across that way. And so I wanted to make sure. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. I'm happy to answer your question. Another common question that I can address really quickly is that if you're a speaker in multiple events, you only need to submit one speaker profile and it'll automatically be tagged to each different event you're speaking in. And then moving on to event information, if you are looking to update any event information, whether it be the title of your event, the description, you can add new speakers or remove speakers, anything like that. You can update those or make those changes on the event changes form. That form is linked right here on this slide, and this will be sent out to everybody. And then Kelly also pushed this out in an email. Changes will be made to the Amamo schedule and in HopIn every Tuesday and Thursday from now on, leading up to Twin Cities Startup Week.
And real quick, Kirsten asks, when we register for the Startup Week event, do we choose general admission option? Kirsten, I believe Kelly sent out a link to a speaker ticket. So if you are a speaker and a session organizer, you get a special ticket that makes you a moderator in your session. So we'll make sure, it sounds like there might still be some confusion about that. In the follow-up email after this webinar, we'll make sure that we're including those links to the speaker tickets.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. Another thing that's cool with having a virtual Twin Cities Startup Week is we'll be able to record all of our sessions and then add them to a Twin Cities Startup Week resource library. So what this will look like is any event that's hosted via HopIn will be recorded and branded as a Twin Cities Startup Week event and added to our resource library. So something that can make this work extra well is making sure to send any additional resources that you're using for your presentation, whether it be a PowerPoint or a virtual handout or anything like that, so we can make sure it's tied to your event in the resource library. If your event isn't hosted via HopIn, I know a couple events are choosing to host via Zoom outside of HopIn, please make sure you record that Zoom session and still send that as well as your resources to the startup team. These resources in the resource library will be made available to all Twin Cities Startup Week registrants and Twin Cities Startup Week subscribers.
Great. And then real quick, Andy Schaefer wrote that when Andy used the speaker registration on an Edge browser, it didn't work, but by changing to Chrome, it worked. So if you're having issues with Eventbrite on either Safari or Edge, or try switching to Firefox or Chrome. Those seem to be the most popularly supported browsers from some of these platforms. Great, let's talk about Slack. So I can't see everybody's hand, but like raise your hand if you were on the Startup Week Slack's channel last year. It's a great resource. We're bringing it back this year. You will receive a link to join. I highly recommend that you join the Slack channel. This is for anybody who, like the Startup Week team is on it, event hosts are on it, speakers are on it, other stakeholders of Startup Week are in it. So this is a great place to ask questions, share how you're approaching your event, especially this year, the first year that we're going virtual. I think any creative ideas or if you've seen something that's worked really well at a different event you've attended and you want to share it with the group to help make our event better, all of that is super appreciated because we're all doing this for the first time, or most of us are. And so sharing marketing strategies, logistical strategies, how are you getting all your speakers lined up and things like that, I think everybody finds helpful. And then our team monitors the Slack channel. So if you have questions, you can either at one of our team members or send us a direct message and we'll try to answer any of your questions that you have. If you've been a part of the beta community very long, here at Beta, we love GIFs or GIFs, whatever you prefer. These are a great way to like tell a story, get an image, get a laugh, keep them sweet, keep them tasteful. It's a professional Slack channel. The biggest rule probably is do not be annoying or inappropriate on Slack or try to sell crap. You will get booted. We have never had this happen as long as I've been running Startup Week, and I love to continue the trend. I find this community to be extremely respectful and we all have a common goal, so this hasn't been an issue, but it's worth noting to avoid this behavior.
We have a couple questions in the chat really quick. Hi, Charmaine. If you filled out the speaker form before and you don't want to fill it out again, another way to update your speaker profile is to wait until your Eventbrite and your Amamo schedule are synced, which will happen either today or tomorrow. And then you should be able to directly update your speaker bio in Amamo. So hopefully that is another solution if you don't want to fill out the form again. And then if you're hosting an event using the HopIn platform you've used the HopIn platform before and you have a profile, You don't need to create a new profile as long as you are registering under the same email. It should be able to log in and do the same. And then the Slack workplace link is on this presentation, and we'll make sure to include it in the follow-up email as well.
Great, thanks, Grace. So let's talk about marketing. How are we going to get people to show up to this thing? How are we going to fill out your sessions? So this is a two-prong approach. We have the Startup Week team, and we're doing a lot to promote Startup Week in general. So we're working with local press, national press. We're working, all of our social media email lists to drive general registration to Startup Week, and then also providing you as hosts all the tools that you need to be successful. So we are taking care of like the scheduling, updating the Amamo platform, providing HopIn, where we're gonna have everybody convene for all of these sessions, giving you the training that you need to understand how to make sure that HopIn works for you. Generally support you, giving you some marketing assets that you can use. What we need from you as session organizers, we need you to get people to show up to your session. And we're going to talk about some different ways that you can do that. But, marketing, outreach, using the channels that you have available to you to drive attendance to your session. And then once you are an expert in how all of our platforms work together, and hopefully you all get there. I know this year's a little more complicated than past years. We would love your help in guiding other people in accessing your session. Like if people are asking you, like, how do I sign up for your session? If you could reach out to them and answer questions, give them the support, because this truly is a community-driven festival. Startup Week always has been, and the more ambassadors that we have helping people access it in this new frontier of virtual events, the more successful we're going to be and the more engagement that we'll get. So thank you in advance for anything that you can do to help people navigate this new system and alleviate maybe any fears that they have about like HopIn, because it is quite a robust platform and it's new to a lot of people. So yeah, and let's talk about how are we going to get people to attend Startup Week? What are some tips and tricks that you can enable? Build a plan, know your target, be different, start with your personal network, leverage the networks of other people. Grace is going to actually do a demo today of how you can navigate Amamo and download marketing assets and social media assets that you can share directly on your social media accounts to make it super easy to promote your sessions and link to them. We'll talk about some other messages or other conversations that you can insert your message into on social media. Talk about how often, how many times you need to do outreach to actually have people show up to things. We'll talk about the resources that are available, and then talk about like outreach to the press. So we're just going to take a quick spin. Each of these has their own slide. Number one, no plan equals no people. So successful events don't just happen. It takes a lot of promotion. It takes a lot of outreach so people actually know that it's happening. We, unfortunately, as Startup Week, I think we're going to have over 170 sessions on the Startup Week schedule, and we just don't have the bandwidth to individually market and promote every single session. So that's why we want to set you all up for success with assets that you can use to get people to your session. Build a 30-day plan. What's your goal? How many people do you want to have attend your session? What is it going to take to reach that goal? If you want 20 people to attend or 200 people to attend, those might require some like different strategies. And how are you going to measure yourself against your goal so that you know that you're being successful in that 30 days? Like, what are some milestones that you want to be hitting from now until your session, so you know that you're successfully getting those eyeballs that you're looking for? Know your target. Who do you want to be there? So, an example is with the beta showcase, we really focus all of our language and outreach and imaging to tech enthusiasts who are looking at exploring the next batch of Minnesota-based startups. That might not be your audience. If you like break down tech, if we break down tech enthusiasts, even within there, there's subcategories of people that we should be doing outreach for. So we're going to change the message for each of these in personas essentially. So, you know, investors are looking for deal flow, so we have messaging for them. Service providers are looking for customers, so we have messaging for them. And then customers are people who are looking for really cool cutting edge tech that maybe they want to utilize in their business. That's going to be a different message as well. So think of like your general audience and then break it down into what the different use cases is for each of them to attend your session, and make sure that you're explaining to them why they should attend your session, like how you're going to cover the information that is most pertinent to them. Be different. You know, try not to use generic language, try to use more compelling language. We're talking about, you know, instead of calling it a networking event, curated introductions instead of Q&A, either like answers from experts, or I think AMA is a really popular, you know, Ask Me Anything is a really popular term as well, that people understand what that means. And instead of like panel of experts, talking about leading minds in XYZ industry, which is more interesting. And then make sure that you're inviting somebody from a different community to be on your panel, because that's also, not only does that help bring a different perspective to the content and you're getting a more diverse view, it also diversifies your audience. So now you're pulling from a different pool of people that you otherwise wouldn't have access to if it was just you and all your friends, because you and all your friends have it's all the same network. So it's really important that we're inviting people from different networks, different experiences to be on our panels and in our events, and that drives a successful event. When you're thinking about outreach, start with your sorry, I'm a little sick today. Your personal network. You know, send a couple emails, put your event on social. We're going to give you some great assets that you can use to promote your event on social. And then chatting it up around the office. I don't know what your office chat looks like right now. Maybe it's on Slack, maybe it's Google Hangouts or whatever, but just letting your coworkers know that you're doing this session, because they'd probably like to attend and see what you have to say on a specific topic. So, you know, just making sure that you're maximizing the benefit of your own network to get people to attend your session. And then this goes back to what I was saying about leveraging the networks of people that you know, especially the people who are on your panel. If you're doing a workshop or a panel, ask your speakers to promote the event. Ask your guests who have already registered to promote the event. And there are ways to provide incentives to do that. So you can tell people like, hey, the first 5 people to share this on Twitter, I'm going to invite you to some sort of like private Q&A or AMA with one of our speakers, or an opportunity to win a one-on-one free consulting or discounted consulting opportunity with one of your speakers. So just getting creative and getting other people to promote your session as well. And Ava, this is a really good question. Amamo's new to us this year. Ava's asking, are you going to have access to the people who register for your session? I think you can see who's registered for your session on Amamo. Grace, can they message people who have registered for their session through Amamo? Or?
I don't know that Amamo has a messaging feature. This is an awesome question that I can definitely look into further and include resources for in the follow-up email. Amamo is really good about showing registrants for the event, but I don't know that it has a means of communication.
We'll find out the answer to that and include that in a follow-up email on how you can communicate with your registered attendees leading into your event. And because I think you can, I just don't know the details. Great. And Ava, you won't have access to the emails of people who registered to attend your event. But there are ways during your session to have people like either sign up ahead of time through a Google form with their emails if they want to get your slides afterward or be contacted afterward. But it is an opt-in from the attendee perspective. They can opt in to share their email, but we don't automatically provide emails to session organizers. Great. Grace, take us away with Amamo. So Amamo's a relatively new scheduling platform. If anybody's familiar with Sched, that's what we've used the past 3 or 4 years. This is one of the co-founders of Sched, has spun off a new ticketing experience that we found was more intuitive than Sched. So Grace, and has some better marketing features. So Grace is going to take us through a demo of that.
Awesome. Yeah, like Casey said, Amamo is an awesome resource to not only curate your own personal schedule, but to promote your event as a whole, and also yourself as a speaker, other speakers on your panel and event. So these are kind of some ideas or examples of what this could look like, and then I'll walk you through how to get there and what Amamo kind of will look like for you. Okie dokie. So this is what the Twin Cities Startup Week schedule will look like on Amamo, and you can see that all through here, just different events, tags they have, speakers. So anyone who hasn't looked at Amamo yet, I definitely encourage it. So if we hop into this event here, it's going to give you a little bit more on the back end of what the event will look like, the opportunity to click into any of the speakers to read their speaker bios and learn more about them, as well as the event description. And then as you scroll further, you will see it gives you this social card. This social card is a great opportunity for you to promote your event via any of these social media platforms. So if I were to click into LinkedIn, it would give me the opportunity to share this graphic, the link to register for this event, as well as more information on how to navigate Amamo through this event and these speakers. I'll give you a quick example of what that could look like now. So if I were to tweet this event, it would give me a generic tweet that I would be able to edit on my back end, as well as the link to the event, the graphic, and all of that information. Awesome. So that's kind of how Amamo works for the event profile. Now, if I were to click into a speaker, it will bring me to that speaker profile. And when I talk about an Amamo profile, this is what it'll look like on the front end. It has the opportunity for you to link your website, your LinkedIn, social media handles, job title, a personal bio, anything like that. And then events that you're speaking in, as well as a personal social card. You'll have the opportunity to share this social card in the same way that you would an event card. So it'll tweet, this is a generic tweet. You would have the opportunity to change any of this, copy, and then it gives you the graphic for the social card, a link to the event on Amamo, and then that link on Amamo will bring you back to more information about the speaker. That's kind of what Amamo will look like on the back end. And like I said earlier, you have the opportunity to change any of this information via your Amamo profile that will be linked to the Eventbrite. Let's see, I think I have to exit to go back in. Awesome. So that's a little bit more about what Amamo could look like when you're promoting your events. That's an awesome resource for you to share on your social media channels.
Perfect. Real quick, we have a few questions. So Ava asked, do you have the green light to record your sessions and turn them into content? We are actually planning on recording every session in HopIn. And then we are planning on having it, we'll throw it through an editor and do some overlays that just like designated that it is a Startup Week event. And we will be sharing those assets with all of the speakers and session organizers. So yes, we will be recording the content. I don't know if you can have 2 people recording the content at the same time. We'll get you more details on what that's going to look like. And yeah, I think we're just automatically going to have it like the sessions automatically record.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks, Grace. And yeah, and that kind of ties back into what Grace was talking about, how we're going to have a content library this year. So all of the sessions that are happening in Startup Week will then live in the content library, and we can also share the videos with you in a Dropbox if you want to take them and use them for your own personal use or professional use. I think I saw one other question that I wanted to address, but a lot of questions came in. I apologize. So if I didn't get to your question and it hasn't been answered, feel free to put it in the chat box again or ask it at the end of the webinar. So we talked briefly about placing your message into other conversations that are taking place, and this goes back to amplifying your network. So here are some popular hashtags that we recommend that you use. You know your network best and you know your audience best. So think what hashtags they're using, where do they go to get their like trend and information, and feel free to use those hashtags in your promotion so that it's showing up in the feeds of the people that you want to attract to your session. Great, next slide. So we've been doing events for a long time at Beta, and we have found that it takes at least 3 messages to drive attendance to meet our attendance goals. So this is an example of our spring 2018 Beta showcase. Our goal was to have at least 600 registrants. As you can see, we sent 1 email out, we got up to 200. We sent a second email out, that got us up to 400. And it wasn't until the 3rd email that we really got that final upward trend to meet our goal of 600 that we needed. So don't be afraid to come up with a campaign that, you know, is just like, hey, I'm speaking, I'm organizing this session, I hope you can attend. And then maybe the next one is, I want to announce the speakers who are going to be on my panel, and here they are. And then the 3rd one can be like, hey, last chance to attend this session. Here's a link if you want to come. You know, just super simple, can be short, doesn't have to be super designed or complicated. Just having those minimum 3 points of contact is what's going to drive people to your session. And using all of the resources that are available to you. We have this deck that we're going to send out. We have the Slack channel where you can ask questions and share information. We have several DEI resources that we're going to go through today. We have photos and videos that you can repurpose in your own campaigns. But really, I think the easiest thing to do is use the Amamo social cards that Grace showed us, than trying to repurpose a bunch of like previous Startup Week photos and videos, but you're welcome to do it. We'll share Startup Week logos with you so that if you want to brand, put some stuff together and brand it. And then we're going to send out a PowerPoint template for presenters to use if they choose. That's a Startup Week PowerPoint template, a PowerPoint template that's been professionally designed. It can just kind of help make your presentation a little tighter, a little more polished, a little more professional. So we'll be sending out the link to those resources as well. And talk to the press. It's worth a shot. It's, you know, they want to know, they don't really care that you're having an event. They want to hear what the story is. So, you know, as we're thinking like what's really topical, if you're getting somebody who, like, I mean, if you get Anthony Fauci to come and talk about COVID, I bet the press is probably going to be covering that because that's super topical. People care about that and they want to hear what he has to say. So just thinking of that as like an example, you know, what is the story that you're selling to the press? Things they get really excited about in the past. You know, we had drone racing at Bat House one year, underrepresented groups that are doing sessions. Blacks in Tech got quite a bit of press coverage the first year they came to town. Bunker Labs, Veteran Accelerator had a session that got coverage because, you know, veterans and entrepreneurship is really important. And then anything that really impacts the city. So economic development, jobs. I'm sure if you can, I don't know if we've hit max saturation on COVID related stuff, but that might be an angle that they're still interested in covering. So just think about what makes your event unique, and why would somebody from the press want to share it or talk about it coming up, or cover it in real time and then write about it after. And real quick, I'm just going to take a pause to look at questions. So Jonathan says, what about the dress rehearsal? There's a date but no calendar invite. Did you sign up for a time slot? So I believe, Grace, why don't you explain how dress rehearsal is working?
So when you submitted your, I believe it was your event form, there was, the last question included each date for the dress rehearsals, and then a morning preference or an afternoon preference. And based off of your preferences that you submitted in that, we will be sending you a calendar invite that best fits with your schedule that you provided to us. So you definitely are in the right if you haven't received a calendar invite yet. Nothing to stress about. Just keep your eye on your inbox and make sure to let us know if you still haven't received a calendar invite by the week of or before that event.
And then Susan Langer asked, can we reschedule our dress rehearsal time? And the answer is absolutely. What's the best way to do that?
If you feel though you're, let's see, I will add that question to the event changes form, and you will be able to resubmit your event preference time.
Perfect. Anna asks, will you include all panel members in the calendar invite to the dress rehearsal? Yes.
Yes. We should, the way we'll be sending those out is based on the information that you submitted in your event submission. So if you submitted your panelists and information for those panelists, we'll definitely be sending that information out that way. But if you added a new speaker and haven't indicated so, there wouldn't be a way for us to send them that information. So again, just making sure your events are up to date, but we should be able to get that out to your entire event team.
And Andy, yes, we agree. We need to get those out as soon as possible. So we are working furiously back here to get all of these sessions organized and planned, and we will hopefully, ideally, get all of that done by Friday. But that it's new times, and we're a little behind in general just because of COVID. So thank you for pointing that out. Is the dress rehearsal a hands-on HopIn experience? Yes. So the dress rehearsal is really an opportunity, and I think, are you going to talk about this later, Grace? I don't know.
Talk about this later. We have a lot of questions about the dress rehearsal right now, and I will be definitely addressing the dress rehearsal later. That could answer any potential questions.
Okay, let's move on then, and
awesome.
Then we'll answer all these. So talking about Startup Week, diversity, equity, and inclusion resources, we have some exciting announcements this year. So, you know, every year we try to make like one more baby step in the direction of making Startup Week more accessible and more inclusive to all members of our community. And a couple ways that we're doing that this year is our recorded sessions, when we're gonna put closed captioning on all main stage sessions, and first session in Spanish this year, so that's really exciting. We are and then again, for those of you, you know, again, we're instating the rule that you have to have diverse representation on panels and group sessions. So if you're having trouble finding somebody from a different community or somebody outside of your personal network to be on a panel, we have our subject matter expert directory again this year that we'll share the link to. These people who are listed on this directory have opted in and want to speak on panels and sessions. So feel free to reach out to them directly and ask them if you want to invite them to join your session. If you would like to be featured on the subject matter expert directory, it's an evergreen resource. It's up all year. It's not just for Startup Week. So it's also a great way to put yourself out there if you're from any underrepresented group. It's really, the purpose of it really is to help connect with subject matter experts who are historically underrepresented. So like women, people of color, LGBTQ, any other underrepresented group, in business and entrepreneurship, and helping connect them with events that are happening where they can continue to share their expertise and opportunities they otherwise wouldn't have learned about. So if you identify with that and you would like to be listed as a subject matter expert on the directory, and you're open to having people reach out to you year round to speak on panels or speak at events, we'll send out the link on and instructions on how to get added to that directory. Perfect. Okay, I think this is where we're gonna really dive into some more HopIn information and dress rehearsals. So I'm gonna let Grace take it away here.
Awesome. So the HopIn dress rehearsals, we talked about them a little bit already. So these are the dates, and again, we will send you your calendar invite based on the preferences that you've already submitted with your event submission. And if these events don't, or if these dates don't work for you, don't panic yet. We'll have another dress rehearsal closer to the event that's more of a last minute one. It is a hands-on HopIn experience for those who have asked. We will be walking you through what hosting an event will look like in HopIn, how to log in, all of that. And then there will be ways for you to kind of get a better idea of what this will look like, both from an attendee perspective and a host perspective. I think Adam also in the chat mentioned having a sheet with all of this information. We will also be sending out guides to everyone. So we've already created an attendee experience guide, so it'll provide better information, some more FAQs about HopIn, Imamo, all of that should be on there, as well as what an event host will see on their end. So whether you have questions that go unanswered in this event or a dress rehearsal, all of that information will be in a one-page or a one-document information packet. Another important thing is please make sure you've submitted your speaker and event forms. So we build a Imamo based on the event form submissions. So if you haven't yet submitted your event form, it's likely not on a Imamo yet. Additionally, speaker forms, your speaker profile is tagged to all of your events. It's a great way for people to better understand who's speaking in what event, and it can really drive people to your event that way. And then a follow-up email will be included with this presentation, or the follow-up email will include this presentation. When registration is closer to the event a little bit, you'll get those guides that I mentioned with all of this information as well. And then promotional materials that'll include like branded slides, and then better information on how to access your Imamo information.
And so real quick, just to answer some questions that are rolling in about like HopIn versus Zoom and platform limitations. So HopIn is, if you haven't had a chance to use HopIn, it truly is like if we could take an in-person conference experience and turn it virtual. So it has all of the same elements that you would see in an in-person conference. There's like a reception area where you can see the schedule for the day. There's a main stage that is very much set up as a one-to-many presentation tool. So there's people on the main stage, and attendees can ask questions or interact in the chat bar, but there's no like video. It's not like Zoom where you can hop on a video and ask questions. The sessions where the majority of you will be having your events take place is essentially breakout room in itself. It's like a smaller conference room where you can have up to 20 people on their video having a conversation, and there's unlimited number of people who can be watching that conversation and interacting in the chat bar. So you'll learn more about this as you go through your dress rehearsal. As a moderator of your session, you can choose who's on video at any one time. So you can be cycling people through. There's like a waiting room where people, if you're at max capacity, people can wait to get added to the video chat as you're answering questions, things like that. So, and then there's a speed networking option on HopIn where you get paired randomly with other people, and you can have a 5-minute conversation, which we've gotten great feedback on that. That's probably the most popular feature. And there's expo booths where sponsors and other information session or like informational, I don't know, content can live. So it's very much like a conference experience. Whereas Zoom, so the session in HopIn does not have breakout rooms, just to be clear. Zoom is a video conferencing platform where you have a little bit more control over, you can do breakout rooms, you can do some other stuff that HopIn doesn't offer. So it's really kind of the difference between like standing in front of a room in a conference room, which is what HopIn recreates, whereas Zoom is a multimedia platform that's more interactive in a way that HopIn isn't. So there's trade-offs to each. So just to give you a quick overview of what the difference between HopIn and Zoom is. And then
HopIn also allows you to share your screen and show those same slides and presentations that you'd be able to do on Zoom too. I know that was another question. So that still is an opportunity that you'd have via HopIn.
And Lois, yes, we'll get you a bunch of information about the different platforms before the dress rehearsals. And then Greg Binsfield asks, so Greg's hosting a panel with multiple speakers in different locations, London, Minneapolis, San Francisco. When is the event link for the live virtual event login sent out to panelists and people showing up to attend? Grace, do you know like when? So the event link goes out actually really, the event link is created and it's on Amamo. You can access your event 10 minutes before your session starts. So everybody will, as soon as the event is created in HopIn, you'll have a link to it. You just can't access the session until the allotted start time. And we can give you more information about that in the dress rehearsal, like what the flow is and how people are actually going to come in and access their session. Sorry, I'm a little sick. Let me get some water. Kelly, myself, Grace, we're all here for you as resources. Reach out to us. And then do we have a Q&A slide?
Yes, this is the Q&A slide.
This is it. Okay. Now, if anybody has more questions, let's feel free to hop in on video, or we can still monitor the chat.
There was one question about materials finalized for the dress rehearsal. No, so you don't need anything that you're using for Twin Cities Startup Week to present does not need to be finalized at all before the dress rehearsal. The means of the dress rehearsal is less for you to kind of do a dry run of your presentation and more for you to better understand what will this look like on HopIn, what will this look like day of from my perspective, from attendee perspective, and better understanding the virtual event platform. And the dry run of your event would be something that you would have to do not at the dress rehearsal. And then there will be beta and Twin Cities Startup Week team members there to answer questions you have at the dress rehearsal, run you through different elements. We have like a mock track day created, so you'll be able to better see what everything will look like.
And I think it's important to note that, you know, I think we're booking the dress rehearsals for 15-minute time slots, but I recommend that you allocate more like 30 minutes and hope that you don't need it, because if you get on HopIn and you're having browser issues or video issues or whatever, we will escalate you to our IT team who will troubleshoot with you. So you might need to be on the platform a little bit longer than that 15 minutes if you're having technical difficulties accessing the platform. A few things to note that, like, if you're on a work computer, check to see check to see if you have a firewall, and if if you may need to be on like a personal computer. We've come up against that a lot. make sure that you're using Chrome or Firefox as your browser. We've found that Safari and Edge do not work well with HopIn. Just a few technical things to consider.
Someone else asked about panelists coming to the dress rehearsal. I don't know that we've mandated it, but I would really, really recommend that they're there. Everyone's HopIn experience is really unique to themselves, what computer they're using, where they're at, what their Wi-Fi looks like. It would be really unfortunate to show up day of and not have gone to a dress rehearsal to realize that you don't have a browser that's compatible with HopIn or your microphone. Some people have used like they will use headphones with their event or a different microphone that they attach to their computer. And if you're at the dress rehearsal, we can make sure that it's connected properly or that, and everything goes right. So I'd really recommend they do be there, because it would be really unfortunate for an awesome panelist or panel or presentation to go awry for unforeseen technical difficulties. And while we've hosted an event and HopIn before, like I've said, it's really unique to everyone's individual experience.
Eduardo asks about if like your session's happening on Zoom, how is that integrated into the HopIn platform? It's not actually. So if you are, some session organizers are doing workshops that, again, HopIn doesn't allow for breakout rooms. So if you're doing a workshop that requires breakout rooms, we have allowed some Zoom sessions onto the calendar. So the way that'll work is people will still need to register on Eventbrite to get access to a Mamo, and then the link on that event will take them directly to your Zoom. And you won't need to, they won't need to go through HopIn at all to access your platform. We recommend that you record your Zoom and share it with us so we can edit it and add it to the content library. But yeah, there's a little bit, that's where there's some divergence in access. And Michael asked, can additional panel sessions form and be added by existing speakers at this point? And the answer is probably not. We, if you're wanting to add additional sessions, the calendar is pretty much at max capacity. We have, I think we had almost 200 sessions submitted, which is great. And we're really trying, because it's a virtual event this year, we're putting in a lot of breaks in each of the days so that people can have time to check email, go to the bathroom, get some food. So you're welcome to email us with your session idea, and we'll see if there's room on the calendar, but it seems unlikely at this point.
I really quick with the Zoom calls, or like the events hosted on Zoom. Those events are all present in the Amamo platform. So if you want people to register for your Zoom call, it is really imperative that you send us that Zoom link so it can be connected with your event on Amamo, because that will be the attendees' only means of getting to your event via Twin Cities Startup Week promotional materials.
Really good point.
And then another piece of information that'll be coming along with the guides are that we will be sending a guide to Looking Sharp online that can also answer a lot of these questions. So this will come out with some of the guides that we've created for what HopIn will look like. And it has some really great information on things to include in your presentation, not necessarily dress code, but what to wear to make sure you look professional, where to be sitting in your house, lighting, and all of that information as well.
Adam asks, what is the code to register as a speaker on Eventbrite, or do we pay the $25 fee? So again, you should have received a link to a speaker ticket that waives that you get $25 off any ticket. So either you can do a GA and you don't pay anything, or if you want to be a VIP, you get $25 off the VIP ticket. So we will resend. It sounds like some people somehow missed that link when it went out the first time. So we will resend. I think it went out with, hey, your event is on the calendar, register with this link. So either go back and look at that confirmation email you got from Kelly. And again, we will resend it through the follow-up email that's going to go out this week.
Another piece of information that would be important with that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there a question? Go ahead. Okay, Grace, why don't you continue? And if somebody has a question, they're welcome to jump in.
Okay. Is if you're hosting an event with multiple people or a panel and they're not all connected to that email, it's important that they also all register as speakers. So either sending us their emails or updating your event form, or anything like that, just so we can make sure that they have the right properties and privileges on HopIn. So when you register for that ticket type in Eventbrite, it'll link to certain privileges that you'll have within the event in HopIn. So making sure that the hosts, the panelists, all of the speakers are registered as a speaker in Eventbrite is really, really important for the event. So if you've already registered as a GA or under a GA ticket outside of the speaker form, make sure you can shoot us an email and we'll either refund or put that ticket back and you can re-register as a speaker.
Great, thanks. Jonathan's looking for the startup week on HopIn and it's not coming up in any searches. I don't think
none of the track days for Twin Cities Startup Week are scheduled or published publicly on HopIn yet, so none of the track days would likely come up yet. And then I think it would be under a beta. It would be under beta as opposed to Twin Cities Startup Week.
So like beta showcases live, but
same.
Yeah. So we had to build the schedule first before we could make the HopIn go live. There's a lot of platforms that we're integrating this year. So we got a Mamo up and running, and everybody who submitted their session information should now be in a Mamo. So if you haven't done that yet, please get us your session information so we can get it on a Mamo, because then we link via Mamo to the HopIn. So we needed to get a Mamo built. This week we're going to get HopIn all built and launched publicly. So yeah, you're right. It's not searchable at this time, but we are frantically working on it. If we plan to have a moderator for our session, just a monitor, chat, etc., do they also need to register on HopIn? Yes. So if you want anybody to have access to the HopIn platform, they need to be a registered attendee through Startup Week. And we do have a free ticket too. So so if you just want to have some like extra help in monitoring the chat box and stuff, they can just be on a free ticket and they can be answering stuff in your chat. But yes, everybody needs to be registered as a Startup Week participant on Eventbrite to have access to HopIn. Can we get to a Mamo without going through Eventbrite?
Yes.
Yes, like you can see the schedule on a Mamo. We've sent out, the link is public. It's on the website.
In our profile or our website as well, yeah.
Yeah, so you can go and see the schedule currently, but to be able to register to attend any sessions, you have to be registered through Eventbrite. So, yeah, thanks, Jonathan. I'm glad you were here. Thanks, Michael. Michael just dropped the session schedule in the chat if anybody's interested, and we'll also send it out in an email. These are all great questions. I love how engaged everybody is. Thank you it's a confusing year. It's a confusing time. Everything's new. So these are great questions. And I think we have some time for a few more questions if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, we'll get you up and running on Slack. And thank you, Ava. And you'll be getting a lot of emails from us. A lot of emails and a lot of additional information. This is in true startup fashion. We are building the rocket ship while we are flying it. And we are Startup Week is happening this year one way or another through sweat, blood, and tears. And we really appreciate your understanding and support as we are doing something completely new for the first time, as most people are. So if you're confused, if you're feeling like there's information missing, it's because it is confusing, and we probably didn't realize that this was a piece of information that people needed. So please, like, let us know where you're feeling like you need extra information. Let us know where you're feeling unsupported, because anytime you do something new for the first time, you don't even know what you don't know. And that's what we're finding. We're finding that trying to bring this many people along on this journey of virtual unconferenceness is a steep learning curve. So everybody so far has been incredibly supportive of us, and we appreciate that, but there is more that we can do. So please, like, your support and your outreach is super important in making this a successful startup week / month. So thank you in advance for letting us know what you need. Do we have any other last minute questions? Yes, from Aaron. Does Aaron have a last minute question? Is there the vendor option? Yes, we are going to have vendor expo booths. So leave a video and a link. So, Aaron, remind me, I'm sorry, I don't recognize your name on the chat. Are you a sponsor of Startup Week? No, okay. So, if anybody's interested, so we are gonna have expo booths that are gonna be playing videos, and you can, and they're gonna be at every track day. So every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 weeks. The expo booths will be playing all day in those tracks. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor of Startup Week, which we would love, you know, of course, during a pandemic, fundraising is always challenging, so we could definitely use some extra support. If you would like to have a vendor expo booth, we have some very affordable sponsorship options that I'm happy to discuss with you. So either reach out to me and let me know, and I can talk to you about what it takes to have a vendor expo booth at Startup Week. And it comes with a bunch of promotional benefits, like on social media and emails that go out and having your logo on everything. So there, you know, on top of the expo booth, there's all these other benefits that you get access to. Great. If that is everything, again, thank you so much for being here and your understanding as we do something for the first time. And we look forward to seeing everybody at Startup Week / month.
Thank you guys so much.